r/AskReddit. People who have ordered a bar safe word drink to get out of a bad situation. What was your date like and how did the staff help? I've experienced the bartender hero before. Out with a friend in DC. Guy comes up, stands way too close, introduces himself and shakes my hand way too hard and way too long. I had to actually pull my hand away and he kept the grip. I politely told him I was visiting a friend I hadn't seen in a while and wanted to spend my time with her and turned my back. He kept standing there, trying to talk to me. I again, bit more firmly, told him I wasn't interested. He stayed. He orders another drink and the bartender serves him, all the way at the other end of the bar. Actually showed him his drink and said it will be over here and walked it as far away from us as he could. I thought that was brilliant. He got a very good tip from us. Edit. So many of you have asked. The bar was the Dubliner in DC near Capitol Hill. If you haven't been there, go. Not just because of the intuitive and smart bartenders but for the Smithwicks and Guinness burgers. With that one exception, I've met a ton of cool people there. I don't know about safe word drinks, but once in my early 20s I went on a date with a guy who I didn't know well but seemed fairly normal. About 2 drinks in he starts dropping some real creep vibes. Says that he loves how young I look. At one point he literally said, "You look barely old enough to have your period." Yikes. I make eye contact with the bartender behind me and mouth help. She came right over and asked if I had been in recently because there's a scarf in Lost and found that might belong to me. I walked with her to an employee room and explained the situation. She waited with me while the bouncer bounced him. Later that same bouncer walked me to my car. I went out on my own one night and was having a few drinks at a local pub. I had just moved to the area so didn't really know anyone. A guy sat down next to me and was chatting. At first his was just casual but he eventually became really tipsy-handsy. Then the guy actually kissed me just out of the blue and I told him I was not okay with it. He said I was leading him on, which was not the case at all. He got angry and stormed off to the washroom. I was feeling really uncomfortable and unsafe. I didn't know my new neighborhood yet. The bartender saw that I was feeling off right away. He didn't even know me but could tell. He asked if I wanted to be shown out the back door and if they could put me in a cab home so that I could go without the guy following me. They even paid and apologized that I felt unsafe in their bar. I was totally blown away. I would totally go back there and feel completely taken care of. This isn't exactly a bar story, but a bus story with a bartender. It happened back when I was in uni. I had to rush back home for a family emergency and the cheapest and fastest option was a Greyhound bus that departed at midnight. It was a 4.5-hour drive from point A to point B downtown. Anyways, I sat alone. The bus wasn't very full. I fell asleep about an hour into the ride and woke up to a man in the seat next to me with his arm around my waist and head on my shoulder. I was creeped out but also afraid to make a scene in the middle of the night where I thought only the driver was awake at this time. I asked him what he was doing and to get off me. I was in the window seat and felt trapped and frozen. He tried to make small talk with me, saying I looked cold and needed a warm hard body. He said when we arrived that we should grab a coffee because he sensed a vibe between us. WTF. I kept recoiling and I remember telling him that I'm very uncomfortable and that he should go back to his seat. In response to my request, he said not before I get something and he tried to kiss me. I pulled back so hard that I hit my head against the window. To make a long story short, sorry for the novel guys. A woman, a complete stranger a few seats behind me, comes along and goes, "Oh my god, I thought it was you I saw boarding the bus. We've got some catching up to do, girl," she said. "Excuse me sir, do you mind?" really loudly to the creep, and the bastard got up and went back to his seat. She hugged me and asked if I was okay and said she'd sit with me until we arrived at our stop. I was so glad because I really thought he would have followed me when we got off the bus. She told me she worked at a bar and is used to intervening when she senses something isn't quite right. I couldn't have thanked her enough 8 years later, and that woman is now one of my best friends. I had a creep corner me in a bar once and tried to stroke my thigh. A dude I've never met before came up and said, "Hey sis, I've been looking all over for you," and he put his arm around me and walked me out. "Thank you so much, stranger." Edit. Since I'm seeing a lot of comments about this, it was pretty obvious they were not working together. The nice guy walked over from a group of friends, all college aged, and the creep was in his 50s. And when I said he walked me out, he just walked me to the door of the bar. Not exactly what you asked for, but dealing with a major creep. I was at a bar alone and it was late and the guy wouldn't leave me alone. The bartender swooped in and said he was my husband and I was there waiting for him to get off work. He grabbed all my stuff and brought it to the other side of the bar and the other bartender got the guy out there, had me wait for a while after he left, then they got me an Uber home to be safe. 3 years later the bartender who pretended to be my husband is my actual husband. Working as a bartender and bouncer for the past couple years, I usually just try to watch for body language of people that are in the bar. If it looks like someone needs a quick escape, I'll approach and pretend I'm an old friend that hasn't seen them in a while. If they actually don't need help, I can excuse myself by saying they look like a friend. Either that, or I'll try to position myself behind the questionable party and give a thumbs up and cocked eyebrow as a sort of "you good." Semi-related, but I was out at the pub on campus for a show and had been there previously in the day celebrating our last exam with some friends. Some guy who was sitting at a table next to us and trying to chat us up earlier was still there with his buddies and was drunker and braver, and of course he got me alone when my friend went to the bathroom. He wouldn't stop talking to me and getting in my face and yelling about himself, and when I excused myself to go to the bar, literally was like, "Okay, bye." He followed me to the bar and ordered the same thing as I did and offered to pay, and I said I was good and he did not stop talking. And I must have looked mad as duck because the bartender walked over and went, "Hey, you were here earlier, right? Buddy, give us a second, I need to speak with her about her tab." The guy leaves and the bartender tells me I looked distressed and asked if everything was okay. I told him I was fine, but this guy was in my personal space and not leaving. So he said if he doesn't stop that I should come back and order a whiskey lemon and security would be notified. And he would walk me back to my car if I needed it. We ended up moving tables and I think he got too drunk to stand up and left not too long after that, but I was so relieved to know the bartender was watching out. I'm not one for confrontation and it just feels so much safer to be able to duck out with someone having my back. My bar didn't have a safe word drink, but my favorite bartender swooped in more than once and looked after me, even at times when I hadn't asked him to yet. I remember one time in particular, when I came in with my roommate. She and I were sitting at the bar with our drinks, while a couple guys were sitting on the next 2 stools. They bought us drinks, so we did the usual polite thing and said thanks, introduced ourselves, etc. Within 5 or 10 minutes of starting this conversation, they'd informed us that they were heading to an after party at their house and a bunch of people would be there. We should come with them. My roommate and I gave each other a yeah, right look and said thank you, but no. Well, they wouldn't take no for an answer. They just kept right on trying to somehow convince us to leave and get in a car with 2 strange men to go to a house we'd never been to, and then just trust that it was safe. After a little while, my bartender came over to us. He didn't say anything to me or to the guys. Not a single word. Instead, he leaned on the bar across from us and started to grin. I smiled back, and so did my roommate, and the 3 of us just kept looking at each other and smiling silently. The guy talking at us slowly got quieter, then stopped talking at all, and then he and his friend walked away. As soon as they left, the bartender straightened up and went back to work. I have a lot of respect for anyone intuitive enough to pick up signals something is wrong and confident enough to resolve a potential conflict with so little effort. I had to use it when on a date off Tinder. We met up and he had already got me a drink, just sat there, short of something clear, and then said to me that I should do it, then he would take me somewhere better for more fun. I wasn't comfortable, so excused myself to the bathroom and saw a poster that said about ask for Angela if you're uncomfortable. Went to the bar and asked for Angela, and immediately this guy was playing along saying, "Oh yeah, she's working in kitchen tonight." He got me a taxi and walked me out the back door and into the taxi to make sure I got there without any hassle. Never saw the guy again. Ordered a Manhattan. Bartender told me I had a call at the phone at the end of the bar. I go over and look around for a phone but can't find one. He then asks me if I need a cab and that I can wait out back for it to arrive. I had no idea what was going on, and after a few exchanges of quizzical looks he explained that a Manhattan is the safe drink. I just wanted a Manhattan. He said I was the first person in years to have ordered one at that bar. I'm going to ask at work tomorrow if we could install a safe word drink policy at the bar. That would be such a great idea. Edit. Wow. RIP my inbox. I suggested it to one of the managers and a couple others today and they like the idea. The next step is getting our general manager to implement it.